one of the reasons I was saying I'm really excited about being on this forum and that this event is happening at all is we need to have town hall forums more like this, not just with diasporans, but people back home. People back home, whether it's larger county, city level, or even in the smaller villages, there's a lack of information and there's a lack of access to our elected leadership. And that doesn't mean you make yourself available, but available 24 hours a day. But a scheduled interval of times when people can come face to face with you in a situation like this, or face to face with you in with a representative of yours in such a setting. Use of social media. So back to the millennial thing. We are millennials. Social media is a huge thing for us. And I think most Kenyans, even older than millennials, have adopted social media quite a bit. So using that as a forum to communicate with people, also in a town hall forum kind of way, shoot out questions every week or take feedback every month or every week. I think that would give us that feeling of having access to our elected officials who should represent us. Another thing is educational opportunities. So not just jobs or economy, but a Kenyan at any given point is probably going to get the highest score in any class. It's a thing. We're straight A people. We are smart, but we don't. Maybe it's my limited perspective from not living in Kenya, but I don't feel like the government really fosters a lot of educational opportunities that are particularly tied to the government. And I don't mean just funding, say fellowships, for example, that are paid. It doesn't have to be high paying, but a livable wage, fellowships for people that are part of the community before they've left. To participate more in government, learn more about their own governance, grants to do with that, but just different educational opportunities for millennials and young people coming up. The governors have also spoken about a point that really struck me when I went back home recently was Nairobi is overcrowded. We need to continue this fight of pulling resources and governance back to the counties and have the representatives that are closer to the ground and more aware of the people's needs, taking care of the people. I mean, when you're in Nairobi and you're at the very top, you can't possibly be expected to carry the weight of knowing exactly what's going on at the different local levels. And so I think it's a great idea. It cuts down on overcrowding, geographical utilization that was mentioned earlier of the country, and hopefully it'll bring more commerce and industry to smaller towns so people have opportunities to get jobs where they are. And maybe it'll cut down on stuff like, you have the slums in Kibera, etc., where people cycle to Nairobi from all sorts of little villages because there's no opportunity where they are. So that's something I saw visiting, and I'm sure a lot of millennials have seen, and it kind of stuns you. And then another friend of mine mentioned trade forums for the diasporans. We all know how much Kenya invites international trade. You have conferences. If it's international in Africa, Kenya's involved. We're an international hub. So it's having those sorts of forums and investing in that for the diasporans. I mean, we've seen some products along the hallway coming in. I mean, people are doing things. People are wildly intelligent, innovative, ready to invest, but there's no forum for that. So somebody do something. And then finally, I could go on and on, obviously. Finally, for me, on a very personal level, I would like to see more work towards women empowerment in Kenya. I don't feel that women in Kenya get as much respect, recognition, opportunity, and I hate to. I hate that this is sort of our situation in Kenya, but the issues like Governor Gilu mentioned that affect women are not national issues unless and until they affect men, which means if there are issues that are generally, or things or activities that are generally associated with gender roles, they just may never get addressed. So from a personal standpoint, I would like to see my country show me that they are looking after people that look just like me, not just people that are my nationality, but people like me. Yeah, so in conclusion, I'll say, you know, if what all this means is we think about home, we want to go back home, whether it's to visit a lot more often or whether it's to just move back. I really want to move back home. It would be amazing if we got something that we could really get behind, that is transparent, systematic, methodical, and that we have access to. And I'm sure a lot of people will get behind it. The numbers show that there is interest. Also, as a millennial, I would like to pause and take a selfie with this panel. Actually, a selfie with the whole room.
Okay, not yet. We are not yet done. You'll have a chance of taking a selfie. Let's give her a round of applause again. She's very passionate about investing back home, and she wants to come back home. I'll now hand over to the chair to take charge of the question session. Then we move ahead. Welcome, Chair.
Wow, the millennials are powerful, isn't it? I don't think we can run from that, but thank you, Maggie. I'm going to quickly have the panelists move towards your questionings now. We're only going to take maximum 5 questions. Please do not interrupt your discussion with a lot of stuff. Be very specific. I know we are passionate about what we want to talk about. We are not, none of us is more experienced than the other. But in the spirit of devolution, devolve your questions. If there's anything that Kenya has done right, it was devolution. And that is the spirit we are here for. So I'm going to have the Saina. Saina is here. I'm asking the guy who will handle the microphone. I'm not saying, okay, Charles, can I see you in presence? Because the first questions or the first comments will come from, I'm looking at the, okay, I have a lady there. I have Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, His Excellency. I have Gashoki there, one lady, and Baba Senator. 5 questions. So we're going to start with Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, please, His Excellency. And then the microphone will move to Gashoki, and then we'll come to the lady with the specs. We go to the gentleman behind her, and the lady that was in between there with Lucy. Well, I'll show you your question will be represented by her.
You can use his mic. The other one, just use the mic he has. Use his mic.
This has been a terrific panel. Let me thank all of you for your contribution. My question is directed to my constituent, Mr. Ngele. Maggie, you say you come from Koru. Yeah, Koru. So you're my voter. Now, I just want us to look, what is the role of entrepreneurship? The example I always give is when Dalamea first came to Kenya. He didn't know where he was going. Everything he tried was new. He risked a lot of his capital. But the Dalamea name lives with us to this very day. Yes, the diaspora has a lot of skill, has a lot of knowledge. What is your role as entrepreneurs? Must the environment be perfect before you move to invest? What risk are you prepared to take to be an entrepreneur in Kenya?
One, I would like to comment when Governor Nanok talked about the politics of tribalism. And I would like to put it back to the politicians who are here. Are you not the ones who are making Kenya to be tribalist? Because we as Kenyans, when we go to places like hotels, buses, and taxis, we do not want to know who is the taxi driver, who is the doctor, or where the doctor has come from, or where is my lecturer or teacher has come from, or which tribe. But you remind us all the time when we want our vote, who we are and who we are not. The second question would be to the controller of the budget. She talks about budget allocation that has been increased. But we, as the diaspora, we have got a problem with this allocation of the budget increase because of the misuse that we are hearing of the money that has been raised or that has been given to the people who are supposed to take care of it. That is a concern, and if you have thought about the social media, especially how our money was used in going to watch a game in Russia, it was a concern for Kenyans. You say it has to be candid. To do business in Kenya, I have been fighting for the last 6 years to import tea and coffee to United States. I have got everything from United States, including the simple thing that we call a barcode. But the Kenya government has not been able to locate me a license. The ambassador is aware of this, maybe or maybe not, but I have been trying to fight with the trade officers in Kenya. So how are you going to help us to invest back into our country? Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Gashoki. Wonderful questions. I think we're moving to the lady here. We are going anti-clockwise. The lady in white specs. Thank you.
My name is Fazia Chamtai, commonly, very long.